If you have been to the eastern part of the Blue Hills called Quincy Quarries, you'll know that you can find amazing views, hikers, and even rock climbers. But you can also see clues to a booming business that helped to build our buildings, monuments, and memorials. I'm Judy Laird-Jacobs, the Executive Director of the Friends of the Blue Hills.
And I'm Bina, President of the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum.
And you're watching Blue Hills Alive, your guide to the Blue Hills, which is no longer weekly, but we will bring you insights into the Blue Hills periodically. And if you want additional insights, you can go to our guide, a free guide to the Blue Hills, which can give you kind of information on all parts of the Blue Hills. friendsofthebluehills.org/guide, and we'll put the link in the comments below. And thanks to our sponsor, Tom O'Neill of Success Real Estate in Milton, and we can get going. So we are at Quincy Quarries, and do you want to tell us what this looked like years ago and how long ago?
Well, years ago, this was one huge ledge of granite years ago. The Laurentide ice sheet, when that moved over Quincy and the Blue Hills, it just scraped the tops of the and exposed the granite, and that's what we ended up here in Quincy, a great cliff of granite. And we're standing right in the number 2 quarry, the new number 2 granite rail quarry that was opened around probably around 1822, after the number 1 quarry was opened to quarry the granite for the Bunk Hill Monument.
So I have a question for Kathy Smith. Kathy, she says turn the camera. Does that mean it's to the side? Because it's not from our angle. Just let us know more. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. Keep going. So, what is she saying? She's saying camera is sideways. Uh-oh. So maybe, what does Michael Pearl say? Such a very cool place for a walk. Yay! Thanks for watching. I'm glad that you liked it. But does it really look? It looks sideways. Okay. So we're gonna turn it, but I think we might just have to start and finish it again, because I think you're not allowed to turn it. So it says you can't turn your phone while recording. Doesn't like that. So let us know if this is totally upside down now, because that's what we did. Can you guys let us know? We're not getting anyone. Let us know. Oh, well, that's exciting. It's upside down, so maybe that means, okay, that we can, we will fix it this way. So maybe this is right side up. Kathy, is this right side up? We're gonna find out. Sorry about this, guys. Anyway, so we're gonna wait for Kathy to give us the up or the down. Bingo! Yay! Okay, yay! Thank you, Kathy. So I have to admit, so you were talking about what this place used to be like, and we'll give people a sense. Do you want to give some of the photos just to give a sense of? Yeah, like one of the photos of just this area. You could talk about it.
This is actually the number 2 quarry, where we're actually standing in the opening of number 2 quarry. Again, it was opened around probably 1832 to quarry granite. It's still part of the Granite Railway Quarry, which actually expanded behind us into the huge quarry that we all know of as the Granite Rail Quarry.
So do you want to explain the difference between a railway and a railroad? I think this is very important. Okay, I think it's very confusing.
A railway, in Quincy we have the first commercial railroad in America. But basically a railway, the Granite Railway, was the Inclined Plane Railway, was just to bring granite down from the hills to the first commercial railroad in America, the Granite Railway.
So the railway brought it down to the railroad.
Yes.
Okay. And so there's one quarry here. Were there other quarries in the Blue Hills?
There was many quarries in the Blue Hills back then. But these were the first 2, the Bunk Hill Quarry, which is in the Blue Hills, and the Granite Rail Quarry, which is part of the Blue Hills, were the two original quarries they had started quarrying in Quincy here.
So, so let us know, for those of you that are watching, what your questions are. If you have questions about what quarries are, or how they were spurring the economy at that time, because they were pretty essential. Do you want to talk about how they were important to the at that time period?
Well, Quincy at that particular time period, it was a major industry in Quincy here. We had some shipbuilding back then, some early shipbuilding in the 1800s, but quarrying became one of the biggest occupations of the inhabitants here in Quincy. Many of the ethnic groups came over, immigrated to this country, and settled in Quincy and worked the granite industry here. So it was a big part of the economic part of the growth of the actual Quincy. Well, back then it was Braintree basically, but it was the biggest part of the growth of Braintree, Quincy, and those areas.
Do you want to show the photo with the people in the because that kind of gives you a sense of how they were working. What were the working conditions like there?
This is a photo of the swing.
You guys see? Let us know if you can see these photos, because it's just really cool that you can see that they're like in a little elevator thing.
This is a photo of actually the Granite Rail Quarry, and the photo shows the Granite Rail Quarry and also lowering the workers down into the quarry. That's the way they used to have access to the quarry. And they used to call this the boat, or the grout bucket. The grout bucket referring to they took the small portions of rock that they chip away and they clear the quarry of that. Again, this was the way that the men got into the quarry to do their work. Naturally, you can notice there was no OSHA regulations back then. They were all just hanging onto the chains being lowered into the quarry.
That's wild. Do you want to show another picture? The one of the railway that we it's really loud down there, but it's just very short distance from where we are now, and we'll probably post some photos of it later, of modern day. But here is some photos of the railway. Can you tell us what's going on here?
This is the actual photo of the inclined plane railway. It was built by Gridley Bryant back in around 1826-27. It was to bring granite down from the #1 quarry here in the Granite Rail Quarry to the actual first commercial railroad, which ran at the base of this particular ledge here. And the first commercial railroad ran basically from the Bunker Hill Quarry, which was located in the Blue Hills here, all the way to the Neponset River, Bent's Creek at the Neponset River, where the stone was unloaded onto barges and then hauled over to build the Bunker Hill Monument.
Oh, neat, Buck Hill. So Joey Evans says he used to swim up there in various quarries during the 1970s. Can you tell us about when the quarries were filled in with water and what happened?
Well, after the quarries, after they stopped working the quarries, each quarry would naturally fill up with rainwater, spring water. When they were quarrying it, naturally they had pumps going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, just to keep the water out of the quarry. After they stopped working the quarries, again the quarries just filled up, and it became a recreational area up here in the quarry area. Many of the quarries filled up with water, and there was a couple of very pristine quarries here for swimming, and we're standing in one of them right now. Is actually the Granite Rail Quarry was known for its clear, pure water. Swingle's Quarry, which is adjacent to it, was not filled up with water yet, because actually they were still working it. They worked it up until 1984, 85. Eventually, again, they stopped working that quarry and it filled up with water, and it became another great swimming hole for recreational purposes.
And then
there was a lot of deaths in the quarry. There was a lot of drownings here, and eventually the city officials decided the best thing would be to fill the quarries in, to take that danger away. Quincy dumped a lot of municipal waste in the quarries to fill them up, and then they capped them. And we're standing in, the Granite Rail Quarry, which didn't have municipal waste in it, because actually it was part of the Blue Hills Reservation back then. So what they did is they pumped it down, and they filled it with big dig dirt. When they did the big dig, all this dirt came out of Boston. It was supposedly historic fill that they dumped into the Granite Rail Quarry, and they capped it off. Now it's used basically for recreational, for mountain climbers, and also hikers.
So there's a really cool part just a little bit down the path, this path over here. And if you, what would you find that they were, that's evidence of kind of past practices?
Well, the past practices would be actually there are some remnants of the actual inclined plane railway that led down to the bottom of the hill to the first commercial railroad. Again,
I was thinking though of that where they were doing the drills,
right?
Because that's something that like this is pretty obvious. If you go down this path right here, you will definitely see the incline railway.
Right.
But if you look at, there's a little turn off, your first turn off to the left, you can also see something else. Is it far? Should we walk?
No, we can do it here. I mean,
Okay.
I can just explain it unless
just
you want to
explain
actually show
We'll
it.
explain it. We'll show you pictures later.
Right here at the top of the what would used to be the inclined plane railway, there was a blacksmith shop located, and that blacksmith shop naturally was used to sharpening the tools of the quarry operation. And also there's some an indication on some of the ledge that was outside located to the rear of the blacksmith shop. There's about probably 20 or 30 drill holes into the ledge, and those drill holes are kind of unique because they were actually salesmen's demonstration of how a pneumatic tool, when pneumatic tools came into operation, they could drill holes much faster. So these salesmen who were selling these pneumatic air tools would demonstrate to the blacksmith how quick they could drill a hole versus the old way of actually doing it by hand. And that is, the remnants are actually in the ledge of the cliff.
Okay, and so is there like a key thing that you want people to know about this history?
Well, the key thing is we want to save this basically. We want to save this history for future generations. Again, we've got the mini museum now where we're storing a lot of these artifacts, and they are on display here. And again, we feel it's important. It's a big part of Quincy's history now, where it was such a major, it was a major role in the development of the city of Quincy.
So I don't think a lot of people know about that. We did have a video on your museum. It's pretty cool artifacts, and maybe later we can put a link to that video. But so where is the museum? If you want to just give people.
Our mini museum is located at the old Lions Churning Mill, which is right at the end of Verschutti Drive. Not far from here. It's probably about a mile up the road beyond the Granite Rail Quarry. It's at the Lions Churning Mill, and we've got a lot of artifacts stuffed in a little area, so it's very interesting. We're planning to build a bigger museum when additional funds can be raised. But we thought this would be a start, showing people some of the history of this granite industry here located in Quincy in the Blue Hills.
So Joey Evans has another question. Thanks, Joey, for your question. So why so many large different sized blocks and chunks of granite on the top from front if the ledge hill, that's all I get. It says see more, but I can't see more. So if you want to write the rest of the comment facing, do you get what he's trying to ask?
No, I
Okay,
don't.
let's say it's see more. We can bring you on camera, but it doesn't say. Okay. Sorry, that's all that says. Why so many different large-sized blocks and chunks of granite on the top of the hill of the ledge? So maybe it's up here.
Up here, yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to just explain that?
Yes.
Well, in the quarrying operation, many different sizes of blocks were removed from the quarry, and it all depended on the seams. The seam was a natural seam in the quarry rock, and what they do is they drill at certain locations, and using the seam as one of their mechanisms to remove that block. Sometimes the block would split smaller, sometimes the block would split larger. So sometimes that's why you see many different various sizes of blocks located around the quarry. It all depends on the way it was quarried from the quarry itself.
So Joey, did that answer your question? I'm sorry we couldn't read all of it. Are there other photos that might help explain something else?
See this one here?
Yeah. What's
There's
this one?
Are we on?
Yep.
Yep. Here's a photo of actually we're standing just about in that area. The Quincy Quarry Railroad ran right through this area here to service the quarries. What they're doing here is they're loading a lot of the different size of blocks onto a rail car. And these blocks are basically shipped from the area here on the Quincy Quarry Railroad, carried down to the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad, which ran through the West Quincy area. And then from there, these cars would have been shipped basically all around the country, carrying Quincy granite to whatever location ordered it.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so you answered Joey's question. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
Glad we got to it. And are we? Is that the? Did you have another one of those to tell a different story? This is our last story, I think. So what are we looking at here? This is where we are right now, right?
This is where we are right now, yes.
Is where, and how long ago was this taken?
This picture was probably taken in the 30s, 1930s.
Okay, so this is the 1930s, and this is today. So it's basically the same area that you're looking at. Okay, so what's going on?
As you look around, actually, to the quarry area here now, the landscaping has completely changed. Much of the stone that you actually see here was actually what they call, it was grout, basically. And again, they're all different size stones. And what happens is, they came in here and they excavated all this grout to use it as fill, especially when they built the Southeast Expressway. A lot of this stone and this grout was excavated from the area here and also used as fill along the expressway, heading over the marshes in Milton. So the landscape here has completely changed. What you see today is nothing like it looked back at the turn of the century or in the 30s or even in the early 40s. It's completely changed because much of the granite actually has been removed.
Mm-hmm. Right, so now it's kind of just covered with forest. Do you want to go over just some of the buildings that use this granite, like where it was? Well,
yeah, in Quincy here we could talk about the Quincy City Hall. It was built with Quincy granite. The Church of the Presidents we have in Quincy here was built of Quincy granite. Many of the buildings in Boston were actually built of Quincy granite also.
Like which ones?
Which ones now? Give you a good example would be the Boston Navy Yard. Many of the buildings located in the old Boston Navy Yard, which is now a national park, are all Quincy granite. The dry dock there in the Constitution Park was actually built of Quincy granite. Now, much of the granite was shipped into Boston to build structures, and also, like I say, the big thing is built actually the dry dock there, where the Constitution is.
And how were they shipped there? Can you kind of just give us a lowdown on? So it was taken out of the quarry here, put on the incline
plane railway.
Then what?
Well, granite was shipped out in many different ways. Originally, like we said, it was shipped down the inclined plane onto the first commercial railroad, which ran to the Neponset River. And then granite would have been put on barges and shipped over to Boston. Then it was shipped many other ways. It was shipped by wagon, horse and wagon. And then when auto trucks came in, it would have been shipped by auto trucks. So throughout the history of the granite industry in Quincy, granite, as technology advanced, granite was shipped in different ways. It was shipped by rail. A lot of granite was shipped out of here by rail. So it was shipped actually by rail, by horse and wagon, by auto truck, and that's how it basically got shipped.
Great. Okay. So is there anything else we've forgotten? Or if anyone has questions for Al, he knows pretty much everything about the quarries and the history of this area in Quincy Quarries, which is part of the Blue Hills. Do you have anything else to add?
No. Like I say, it's an interesting area, and people ought to just drop by this end of the Blue Hills and just, walking through the granite rail quarry here is real education in a way. The graffiti, it's some people call it vandalism, other people call it beauty, art. As a quarry museum, we're kind of right in the middle of that.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these people they're really artists that do this graffiti work.
Yeah, great. So, so thanks. So you're watching Blue Hills Alive. Thanks so much for watching. And thanks to Al for talking to us today. And if you are interested in learning more about the Blue Hills, just go to the friendsofthebluehills.org/guide, and you can download your free guide, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the quarries and other really interesting parts of the Blue Hills. So, so Joey says, I haven't been up there since they were filled in by the Big Dig. Wow. Are there any that are not filled in? So the second one, right? Isn't
right, the number 2 quarry. The number 2 quarry here has not been filled in. And also there is another quarry located across the street from the actual granite rail Swingles quarry here. It's Berry's quarry, which is actually part of the Blue Hills that is not filled in yet. We have another quarry up at the churning mill, the Lions Churning Mill, where we have the mini museum. That hasn't been filled in. And also on the golf course, there are several quarries. There's a Fuller quarry that's not filled in. It's actually used as irrigation for the golf course. And there are several other 2 smaller quarries located on the Granite Links golf course that aren't really filled in.
So Joey, when he talks about the Lions Turning Mill, it's really just a couple of miles down the road from here. So if you get to visit this part, then you can just head over there, but it's not always open, right?
Right, it's open on demand. Give us a call on our website. Our
we'll put the website in the comments below. Oh, I'm glad you liked it, Joey. Thanks for your comments. And I wish that we could run over to the should we run over to just to show him? Okay, Joey, we're gonna run over to the one that's not filled in. Do you want to talk about the do you want to talk about, we'll try and leave it. Do you want to talk about a little bit of the history of the second quarry that we're going to be walking to?
The number 2 quarry actually was opened naturally after the number 1 quarry. Thomas Perkins, you recognize the name, the Perkins School for the Blind. He was an entrepreneur here in Boston back in the 1800s. And he actually was involved in the granite industry because he knew there was a profit in it. He was a businessman.
Oh, really?
And again, they opened up the granite rail quarry here. And this is the number 2 quarry.
So that's what we're doing now, is we're walking to the quarry that hasn't been filled in. It's just a few feet from where we were before, right?
Right, yep.
And so how did it evolve as they opened one quarry and then they opened the next quarry?
Well, they were chasing the granite. They were chasing the good granite, the good-looking granite, the color. They were chasing a certain color granite, and after opening up the number 1 quarry, they just kept quarrying around the ledge to get to the number 2 quarry here.
Okay, so hopefully you can still hear us, but now we're going to show you the second quarry, which might be familiar to some people. Do you want to talk about kind of what color color granite they'd find here?
Yes, this granite here was a lighter shade of granite. It wasn't the real dark granite that Jonathan Swingle was noted for in the Swingle's quarry. But there was a portion of the granite rail, the number 3 quarry in the granite rail quarry, that was a darker granite. But this particular quarry here, it was a lighter shade of granite. But it was a consistent shade of granite, and again, that's why they kept quarrying this. This quarry here never got the depth that the Swingle's quarry at 390 feet deep, or the granite rail quarry that was over 350 feet deep. This quarry was nowhere near that. It was they never got that deep because the quality of granite, we think, kind of ran out that they were looking for. And again, now they continued on around for the granite rail number 3 quarry, which was the deep quarry, which again produced the great extra dark granite also.
Yeah, Joey says he recognizes it. Yeah, it's it's pretty recognizable, and it's really pretty in the fall. So when they stopped doing one quarry, was it mostly because they ran out of the great granite, or because the economy changed and they didn't use it anymore?
No, they're right. They ran out of the quality of granite they were looking for. That's why this quarry never got that deep. They never went down because they weren't getting the quality out of this. And what they did is they just started to move around on the ledge to find that good granite, that good grain of granite, that good color of granite.
Yeah. So that's great. Well, thanks, Joey, for suggesting me check out the quarry that isn't filled in. So now we really will be going. And so now I definitely want to thank you for joining us. And we'll be back at some time. We're not regular anymore, but we'll figure that out. And if you have any ideas about what you would like to learn about in the Blue Hills, please let us know in the comments. Thanks again. Bye-bye.